The best Sins lecture ever, GuiltyGearXrd Beginner Edition. This video is directed at GuiltyGearXrd beginners who wish to have relevant matches with other people of equal experience. It consists only of simple stuff that anyone can pick up on the fly. If you don't fully understand something, it's good enough to simply mimic and repeat what you see for now. Enjoy watching. First, let's briefly look at what kind of a character Sin Kisk is. 1. His reach is long. 2. He has extremely high damage. 3. His combos are easy. 4. His jump-ins are strong. 5. He has an advancing low-profile move. 6. He can cancel his invulnerable reversal. In short, he's a character that just does what he wants. Compared to the other characters, he's pretty easy to use as well. The order of explanation will be 1. Long range. 2. Mid-range. 3. Close range. 4. Wake-up game, respectively. Disclaimer: the point of this tutorial is to focus on victory by abusing Sin's strengths. Don't expect compliments like "nice match." Let's play again. After every game, as if it were a scene from a manga. So without further ado. Step 1, Long Range. Sin has a move called Beak Driver that comes out with the 236 HS command. It's an excellent move with a fast recovery. A fine signature move indeed. If approached from the ground, there aren't many moves that can match it in reach. Just firing it over and over is rather annoying from the perspective of your enemy. But reach is not the only advantage it has. It can score a knockdown on an airborne opponent even if they're quite high in the air. Moreover, the second hit of Beak destroys projectiles and causes a wall bounce on counter hit. Because of Beak, the opponent can easily approach from the ground, but instead has to attack from the air with jumps and air dashes. In case they jump at you, you have 6p. Sin's 6p is quite a strong anti-air move. After 6p, you don't necessarily have to cancel into close S. It's possible to hit your opponent too high up in the air and with the following combo as a result. It's okay to even omit moves like J6HS that are there simply to increase combo damage. Depending on the height of the hit, it can be very dangerous to whiff the following air beak after J6HS though. So by adding JP twice, the combo becomes less prone to drop. At first don't overdo it. Get in the habit of scoring a knockdown with Beak at the end of your combos. Also, get in the habit of finishing your combos with the move still growing, also known as meat. In other words, don't forget to regain calories after each combo. For the time being, when in trouble use Beak Driver. Once in a while hold off with your beak and observe if the opponent wants to jump at you, and prepare to anti-air with your 6p. A wise man once said, start with the beak and end with the beak. Step 2, Mid-range. If you think that it's not enough to send your opponents flying with Beak and beating their jump-ins with 6p, but instead keep thinking, I don't wanna stay at long range. I just wanna go attack him. Then Sin will surely grant selfish wishes like this as well. There are 3 different ways to close into attack. First one is using beak pressure as a shield and approaching your enemy by running in. Second one is canceling beak into a leap and surprising your opponent from the air. Third one is canceling beak into elk, or alternatively closing the gap immediately with elk instead of using beak. With these tools it's possible to get into mid-range while still maintaining an advantage. When reaching mid-range, the S button is great to utilize. At this range far S will come out. Far S is our primary tool at mid-range, just as beak is in the long range. After far S, let's go into elk. Whether it hits, counter hits or is blocked doesn't really matter. When elk hut is blocked, you're still at a 2-frame advantage, so it's a pretty damn crazy move. As you can see, pressuring your opponent with it eventually corners him. It also fills opponent's guard bar quite a lot, making any hit lead into big damage. That's all for mid-range discussion. Easy, isn't it? Step 3, Close Range. I explained the unmatched elk pressure in Step 2, but keeping this up will eventually run you out of calories. However, regaining calories generates a huge gap to exploit. Moreover, receiving a hit during that time results in a counter hit, leading to death even before starving. To be precise, the duration of eating is 57 frames. In other words, approximately 1 second. If you attempt to eat after making your opponent block elk, you shouldn't expect the opponent to sit still and do nothing either. So let's try to break the opponent's guard before we run out of calories in order to eat safely. In order to utilize the moves we wish to mix our opponent up with, it's necessary to get close to the opponent. The means to do this are the same as the options we used when moving from long range to mid-range. To approach from above, you can cancel into leap to close the distance at once after elk or other appropriate moves. When approaching from the ground, either dashing in after elk or following up elk with another elk can both be used as means to get in. That way we're close enough to connect with 2P. If we gatling into elk from far S, it's not possible to get into range to connect 2P after. Alright, so we managed to get in, but now what? Let's take a look at the simple mix-up options that Sin has. We can utilize JD as a simple overhead option. JD has a fast startup of 18 frames, and even when combined with the basic jump startup, it's an extremely hard to react to overhead. However, there's a way to make it even harder to see. It is done by canceling into it from another jump attack. If descending JD hits close enough to the ground, it's possible to connect with normals after landing. In other words, even if JD is blocked we have enough advantage to safely press the attack as it is. There are even more devious reasons to choose this approach from the air. If we choose to not cancel into JD and follow up with a low attack instead, the timing of the low and the overhead options are almost the same, thus making fuzzy guarding the attacks extremely difficult. Moreover, even if you would end up in a point-blank range after JHS, if the opponent thinks, "I'll beat the low attack with a throw," and carelessly puts out inputs, the JD will counter-hit. Next, let's take a look at the throw, a mix-up that can be blocked. Even by itself the damage of throw is quite noticeable. Hitting it over and over is an important damage source not to be underestimated. After a throw the frame advantage is huge, so it's possible to eat safely or just transition into performing your okizeme. It's also possible to extend your throw combo with a Roman cancel. Since charged beak causes a wall stick, it's possible to follow up with K leap to JK and an appropriate combo afterwards. From a position where we can reach the corner with a charged beak, let's just safely finish our combo with normal moves instead. It's okay to avoid doing any complicated combos for now. Next up we have the low options. Although to be honest, since the JD overhead isn't possible to see, I don't think the low options are that important. Between the two-way of strike and throw, the opponent is sure to get mixed up just like that. Furthermore, by including frame traps, we should be able to break through the defense of any opponent we face. When we take into account Sin's overbearing pressure, simply cancelling normals into ALK makes for a great frame trap. For example, if the opponent doesn't have the timing right, interrupting the chain of 2p into ALK won't be successful. Fundamentally the 2p to ALK string is pretty good, but it won't interrupt opponents who are holding jump. Thus, my recommendation is 2p to DL. Both 2p to 2d and 2d to ALK have a very slight gap, so carelessly holding jump or mashing will get destroyed by these two options. We've now learned a simple three-way mix-up between overhead, melee attack and a throw. It's good enough to tackle your 100 first real matches with these offensive options. The close-range explanation ends here. To close out, let's take a look at dealing with the opponent's okizeme. Step 4. Wake up game. Last, I will explain ways of avoiding your opponent's attacks when ending up in disadvantageous situations. Sin has a move that is immediately invincible during startup. This move is called Hawk Baker. People who might wonder, isn't the recovery very long? Can rest assured. One of the reasons why Sin is considered so strong is because he can cancel from a special move into another special move. Hawk is not an exception to this rule. The outcome is shown here. From the viewpoint of people who have previous fighting game experience, this is utter madness. It's the same as if Soul could cancel from Volcanic Viper into Fafnir. While being an invincible reversal, it can also lead to an advantageous situation via special cancel on block. Thus, it's often called an unfair bullshit move. At first, inputting the commands properly in succession might be difficult, but since it's such a powerful technique, you should aim to master it. It's done simply by inputting a special move after another. Sin also has another move that consumes tension gauge, but is invulnerable after its startup. It's called Ride the Lightning, or RTL for short. It's invulnerable from the fourth frame. The first hit always travels forward, after which you can input a new direction twice out of any 8 general directions. In other words, considering what it can do. Even when the opponent blocks it, the hit-and-run dynamic of the move allows the Sin player to still make an escape. Furthermore, since Ride the Lightning is able to pass through the opponent, by adding delay it's possible to create left-right mix-ups like this. So we can go all in and ram into the opponents who attempt to retaliate or chase with half-assed attempts to land a punish. You can also perform it in mid-air. While this looks pretty ugly, simply by spinning the stick around and tapping HS button continuously makes Ride the Lightning come out. By utilizing these two moves, it's possible to escape from tough situations. That's all for the wake-up game explanation. To summarize shortly. 1. Use beak from a long range. 2. Look for an opportunity to get in with either K leap via air or with elk on the ground. 3. When you get close, utilize the simple three-way mix-up of overhead, low and throw. 4. Eat before you run out of calories. Get in the habit of eating after ending your combos. 5. When in trouble, fire that ride the lightning. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. Creator, Fujita. Translators, GGXrd and Satsu. Proofreading, faultydefense. Animation, Kaduchi. Goodbye.